Back on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show, Emmanuel Berbari alongside Jackson Heil. Pleased to be joined by recent Fordham and WFUV alum, a member of the Fordham women's basketball team and the WFUV broadcast this year, Ice Young. Ice, how you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm doing good. First of all, that was a long introduction, so I appreciate making sure
A lot of
that
accolades.
I checked every box possible during my time at Fordham. But I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. How are you guys?
We're doing
good.
great, Ice. It's great to talk to you as always, and just checking in with you. How's recovery been from the knee injury? Obviously, quarantine kind of throwing a whole loop into that, but how's the knee doing? How's everything?
Yeah, quarantine happened at a good time in rehab for me. I had just started running, and so my rehab was pretty simple, like run 1 minute, walk 1 minute, and do kind of 5 sets. And so I was building up the running every week. And so I could do virtual PT once I got home, which again, because my rehab was kind of simple in that regard, it didn't throw it off too much. Otherwise, if it had happened a month before when I really needed to see someone and be kind of in the training room, getting someone to actually physically work on my knee, it would have been tough. So it didn't delay the process at all. I'm doing well. I'm doing basketball workouts now 3 times a week, so it's good to put the ball in my hand and feel good. So I'm about 9 months post surgery, which it went by fast. Definitely faster than the first time.
Really?
Yeah, definitely faster. The first time, I mean, I was young. I was 17, 18. I was mad at the world. I couldn't go to the beach when I wanted to. Like, I was angry. This time, I'm kind of like, okay, we've been through it once. We'll get through it again. And I just want it to be successful. I just want a successful rehab. I want to come back stronger than I was before. And so that's what's been most important this time.
Well, speaking of rehab, saw the announcement transferring to Siena as a grad transfer for the women's basketball team. What played into that decision to continue your basketball career for another year?
Yeah. I mean, it was a tough one. You guys know, I broadcasted a lot of games this past season, 40 to 50 games and between TV and radio. And so I felt like a real professional sports broadcaster in a sense, not just doing Fordham games, branching out, going back to Syracuse and doing a game. And so it was tough for me to decide, am I done playing or can I just want to get right into my career? Because it was one or the other. There wasn't an option where, okay, you can just sit at home and relax. It was like, okay, I'm not going to sit at home. I'm just going to get into my career and call as many games as I can. But I've always had the desire to play overseas. I always wanted to play professional basketball. And I just felt like I wasn't done. I would be calling games and thinking, like, why would they do that? I would have done this, or, oh, they did that. I wouldn't have thought that. And so I'm putting myself in that position where if I was still running and if I was still capable, and it's way different when you're facing an injury that you could come back from versus being retired for a couple of years and thinking about that. And so I left some games calling games really being sad that I wasn't playing, like just missing that excitement. And so I just want to get back on the court. I want to hoop. I've been a hooper all my life. And so I just want to get back and finish my college career on my terms, and then hopefully play overseas after that and delay broadcasting until I really can. Not that I don't love it enough. I just, that's what your parents tell you, right? You can work forever, so play as long as you can.
I always used to say I didn't want to be a broadcaster until I knew I couldn't make it professionally, and that took a little longer for myself to realize than most. But good for you in continuing that path. Going back to your time at Fordham, obviously probably a crazy time for you given that you were broadcasting so many games, but unfortunately had to be sidelined because of your injury. How would you describe your time at Fordham?
Oh, on an Instagram post that I posted to kind of wrap up the year and transition to the next one, I said it was tough. I said it was tough. I think that was the only word that could really encompass how I was feeling. Getting there, be excited to play. Building relationships with my teammates, getting to know them on the court, and then all of that being cut off so short within the first 2 to 3 weeks of being on campus. So it was just tough for me to realize that it's not my plan that we're following. It's God's plan. It is really how I had to go and motto it through the rest of the year. And so I would just say it's tough. But on the other end of that, it was extremely a blessing in disguise. I mean, there's no way I would have been able to get as many reps in broadcasting, be able to meet great people like you guys, continue to connect and network in the industry if I was playing basketball the way that I had planned to be. And so for that, I'm sure my career will thank me in the next 5-10 years when I'm finished and I've just got so many reps under my belt and so much experience. And that was really because of this past year. So it was tough, but it was also a blessing in disguise. And if I could do it all again, I would do it the same.
Well, it's certainly an interesting time in the world. Not only do we not have sports, but so many current events going right now, and you've certainly been outspoken on social media about a lot of those events. What's your reaction to what's gone down the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, they have been tough. Tough is just maybe the name of the game. Obviously for 2020, it's been the worst year by far. Like it just been the worst year. It started with Kobe, and then we all knew I think it was going downhill from there. But it's been tough. I mean, being a Black woman, a Black athlete, right now, it is just a hard position to be in. Understanding that, I was home the other week and I decided to take a walk with my best friend of 17, 18 years, another Black female like me, same age. And we're walking down the street, we're going to get ice cream. And I said, what could stop someone from coming and shooting us right now? Like, what would stop them? I have no old Syracuse gear on or Fordham gear. So I'm not, connected to an institution where, hey, if you shoot me, you'll end up on ESPN. I don't have sports broadcaster written on my forehead. I'm just a random person, And so all these people, the George Floyds, the Breonna Taylors, they were all just random people, right? And so it's really hard to walk right now in the world and not be in fear of what could happen anytime. I went to my first protest last week. So glad I went. So glad I went. Just the pure emotions of walking and trying to fight that your life matters. Like, I just want to matter. I don't have to be worthy. I don't have to be important, but I just want to matter is where we're starting at the basis right now. And it's so hard. But, I'm young and I'm a fighter. If anybody will tell you anything, I'm definitely resilient. And so I have just said that, we're resilient people. The Black community is resilient. We've been through so many things in the past 400 years that will just all undo all of that in the next 400 years to come. And so I've been very outspoken on social media, but respectively, I am not like a Trump hater. I'm not, anything bad. I'm just more about uplift and support and helping our community get to where we can implement change. I'm big on telling all of my friends to vote. Like, we need to vote. Everyone needs to vote, whether you support whatever's going on or not. We need to vote because that's the only true way that we can move forward as a country if everyone has let their voice be heard. So we truly know how everyone feels. I think also in this time I've realized that, and this is going to sound naive, but that people are racist. Like, there are people who are truly racist who maybe not are the, hillbillies, so to speak, that we see in those southern states, right? Or that are still living in the 1960s kind of thing. But those that I would consider to have friends, or teammates in past years are racist, like really do not believe that everyone's life is equal. And so it's become almost shocking to me, but in the same way, I would rather know where you stand than to not know and think that you're standing with me. And so I've just told everyone to try to implement change, check on your friends, tell everyone to vote, and be about uplift, because right now at a time where the world is so dark, it needs you and I at our best. That's really been my motto through this whole entire thing. I've done Instagram lives every Friday to talk to some friends just about what's going on, how we can make things better. And that's been kind of one of the ways as a journalist that I feel like I'm important, that I feel like I can help, spread information and just have good conversations that, again, are about uplift and making change. So it's been tough, but that's what I've been doing, and that's kind of how I feel about it.
Ice, it's impossible for people like Emmanuel, myself, and just I think for white people as a whole to understand what the Black community has been going through over the last 200 years, because a lot of the problem has been people like us, unfortunately. What would be your biggest advice to people who are trying to understand what the Black community is going through right now?
Two things. the first, do your research. There are so many books, so many Netflix movies, so many documentaries, so many different resources that you could access on your own and understand systemic racism, racial injustices, police brutality, right? Police brutality that's not only happening to Black people in America, but to all people in America. Our police system as a whole, in my opinion, is outrageous right now. So reform needs to happen everywhere, not just because they're killing us, but because they're killing everyone or treating everyone wrong. I truly believe that. And so first, it's do your research. I've heard a lot of my friends say recently, I hate when people ask me like what they can do. They can do research. Well, I disagree, because I'm happy that my white friends are asking me what they can do, because that shows that you care. That's a step. All I need us is to be able to take baby steps to get to change I really want to see. And I think the second one is to check on your friends. I mean, I can't tell you right now how important mental health is, how important it is for us to make sure that the stress level, the fear level is not getting to us in a sad way. I had to make sure that I checked on myself a couple of times saying, okay, I've been sad for a couple of days. Like, let's get up, let's get some ice cream, let's talk to some friends. You know, let's really make sure that I'm keeping on the up and up, because it can be very scary and very stressful, understanding that, you know, George Floyd could have been my father or my brother. You know, Breonna Taylor could have been me or my best friend or my sister. And so, you know, these stories are very real, and this is our reality that we face. And so I think doing your research, understanding all the things that are going on, and then checking on your friends. And then with research, it will prompt you to act after that. There's no way that you will be able to research systemic racism, racial injustices, police brutality, and not want to sign petitions, not want to donate, not want to have a conversation with me about, hey, where can we go from here? Not want to walk in a protest. There's no way. There's no way. It's too moving of information.
You've mentioned the word change a couple of times, and voting is one of the ways where you can indirectly make change through the people you vote for. Speaking of change, what are some changes you'd like to see come about from some of these protests and movements?
I think that's a good question, because there are so many different levels that change can happen. I'll tell you what, I will give you my first as a Black athlete. I would love to see more Black head coaches, more Black athletic directors. I was having a conversation on a podcast the other day talking to two former Black women who were both athletes, and there was a coaches conversation. Dawn Staley and Muffet McGraw and Gina Armia were on it, talking about how to have these conversations with your team about, hey, some of us come from Kentucky, where seeing a Confederate flag is no different, right? Some of us come from inner city New York, where I've never seen that. I would never experience that. How to have these conversations with your team. And so I think that it was just great to be able to see that, but to also understand that in NCAA Division I women's basketball, I, the Black woman, make up more than 50% of those that play. Yet, we don't have nearly 50% of those coaches that look just like me. So it's very hard for me to go to a team and be able to relate to a head coach who doesn't look like me. I've been blessed to come from Syracuse, where I had a Black head coach and all Black staff, Black administrators. So it was never a question there if this was happening right now. I truly don't question that we'd be able to have conversations and talk openly to a coach who is the most targeted type of man in America right now. You understand what I'm saying? So I think seeing more Black head coaches, more Black athletic directors will help facilitate those conversations in the athletic community to make sure that everyone feels okay in the space and that things are being done the right way. This is a human rights issue. It's not a political issue, right? We're fighting, again, that every person matters. Not that you're Democrat or Republican. Either way, every person should matter the same. So that's changed for me in the athletic way. And I think in terms of politically, I really think police reform. You know, I've heard this term defunding the police. And the first time I heard it, guys, which I'm doing my research on it because it's new. It's brand new like anything else. So every other hour, someone's writing an article saying, okay, this is what we're interpreting. But basically, taking the money and resources that would go to the police, putting them into the community, and having the community basically govern itself in like a neighborhood watch type of thing. That's what I've understood it to be. And correct me if you guys have heard anything else. But that's what I've understood it to be. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. I can't imagine living in a town, in a city, in a country with no police, right? We need police to do other things like parking tickets, speeding tickets. Who do I call if I think that an intruder has come in my house? And I've heard, all the counter arguments. Well, sometimes calling the police may put me in more danger than I would have one-on-one with an intruder. Maybe. Who knows? But at the same time, you still, I think, to this day, feel some level of comfort knowing that there is an enforcement that exists. Whether or not it treats you, Jackson, or you, E-Man, the same as it treats ISIS is different, but you still feel some comfort knowing it exists. And so I don't agree with defunding the police. I think it's an interesting way to go, but I don't think we're giving ourselves and our people enough credit that we're not as nice as we think we are. Not everyone will abide by the rules and help the community and be neighborhood watch. Not everyone will do that. And the last thing is I need everyone to vote. I'm making sure that all of my friends vote, and that will be changed. I didn't vote in the last election. I didn't think I had to, and boy was I wrong. So I'm not letting that happen, and not letting any of those that are next to me not vote either. But that's a change that I would like to see, and that voting is consistent. There's never a thing of like, oh, we don't need to vote. No, we're going to vote. Election day is a celebrated day. Like, let's go. November 3rd, come on, I'm waiting for you. Versus, oh, I got to go vote, or I'm not going this year, or I didn't get my voter registration done in time. There's no excuse because we can't make change that way.
Ice, you mentioned one of the big things being hiring more black head coaches. And one of the interesting things that I've seen, and this is the NFL, this isn't college football, or college basketball for that matter, but the NFL is thinking about like making the Rooney Rule more harsh, which means like some teams might get extra draft picks for hiring a black head coach or for a black GM. Is that something that you would agree with in terms of instituting it in that right, or do you think this is something that has to naturally happen in order for it to be sustainable going forward?
I wouldn't want someone to hire me on a broadcast because I'm black.
Agreed.
I would want you to hire me because I'm qualified, because I played at the highest level that I possibly can in college basketball, that I'm versatile, that I'm articulate, and that I represent black excellence. Therefore, that's why I'm there, because I represent excellence. Now, if I happen to be black, great. But I wouldn't want someone to say, oh, no, we just need a black girl here, so let me throw her here. I don't think that fixes the problem, guys. I don't think that fixes the problem at all. And I think that, in that way, it can be counterproductive in that if you are hiring random black coaches just because you're trying to fill a quota and you want extra draft picks or et cetera, what if they don't help your program? Right? Like, what if they just aren't qualified? So I don't agree with that. I don't. And I don't think that it's genuine and honest. I think that it has to happen organically. And that rule is kind of forcing it to happen, right? 50% of us may be black, but then we also may not still be heard, or then we could just be hiring black and these teams could ignore everything that this coach is saying because, hey, you're just here because of the color of your skin, not because we actually thought that you could help us. You're just on this broadcast because of the color of your skin, not because you give insight into the game of basketball. So I definitely don't agree with that. And I think it has to happen organically and naturally. And we just have to find people who have the guts to hire black head coaches and hire black athletic directors. I truly believe it. Someone just has to have the guts to be able to continue to do it.
Well, Ice, I feel like we could talk about this for hours with you, but we appreciate you taking part of your day with us because it's really cool to hear those questions raised. And best of luck to you moving forward in your future as a broadcaster and as a player over at Siena. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. I'll be checking on y'all throughout the year, so make me proud.